All right. We are live, essentially weekend at BurnEye's with the guys, two great fellow inventors, scientists, and geniuses well, I guess it's essentially also League of Extraordinary Inventors with Old Man Builds and Faraday Research Channel. Welcome, gentlemen, and well, Mike kind of wants to wing it. I've got a few things to go over, and I'm sure, Mr. Nathan, you always have plenty to discuss. What would you guys like to start off with?
Let's start off with your adventure, man. What do you got?
Oh, okay. Putting it all on me. Let's do her up then. And this will be a little bit of foreshadowing or presentation for Tesla Tech. And here we have a very interesting, interesting in the sense that it appears everywhere, but a very common structure, and it's these nested bubbles. And in this, it is the sound bubble wave model. And well, that has to do with the acoustic resonance and harmonics that you're working with, Nathan. And specifically earlier in the comments of APEC, you were talking about how you fill these bubbles with energy, right? And that it ties into this specific shape, and that the light also does this, and this is also the exact proportion shapes of electron, or well, what we call the electron orbital valence shells, but it's the structure of actual particles and atoms. And tying back into my thesis of what I call the misinterpretation of the double slit experiment, that a particle actually consists of fields, of nested fields, these nested concentric fields here, of coherent standing waves. So what does that mean? That means with the hydrogen electron probability, density probability, that is where you have these oscillating standing waves connecting into what are the bonds, whether they're liquid, solid, crystalline bonds within the same atoms, creating on the elemental bonding, or whether it's a molecular chemical bond, or the phases of elements and their densities. And it ties into Walter Russell's octave harmonic vortex geometry of the particles of the atoms, and that they all fit in what the octaves are, as you can see in the sound bubble with the nested spherical bubbles within them. In each bubble is where the valence shell, it's the exact same thing as the valence shell in the structure of an atom of a particle, and it's how atoms and matter structures itself in the physical solid material worlds.
So hold on, take a look at the wavelength. So you'll notice the center and the, let's see, third disc out. Okay, not the last one, but the one right before that. They're in the same going down of the wavelength. And then the outer one and the one closest to the center are on the same wavelength there on the tops. Okay, they're resonating in each one on those two harmonics. So you get an effect. You got two harmonics, but then you get a beat frequency in between them. It's perfect. That's the way the shell works.
You're bang on, exactly. And what creates these shells, these coherent standing waves on making up these field shells, is when you have the harmonic matching of both the light and the sound waves together. And that is what then gives you the physical field structure. I guess Mike will be right back with us. Probably the wrong button on the phone again. Happens quite often. But yeah, specifically, and there he is. Specifically having the harmonic resonant matching oscillating sound and light waves, then creating when you have them in three coherent or three symmetrical, oh no, what's the word? Progressing, three progressing octaves, like just like with your Tesla coils, if you make it a half, it still resonates, right? Just at the lower harmonic, and that it's the exact same, that when you get three of those progressive harmonics into the same space, that's what creates the scalar wave field, or the
that is a scalar wave field right there. And don't forget the center one, because that's the part where it propagates out from, but that's also part of the frequency.
Right, exactly. And like Tesla said, it's all vibration. Oh God, forget the quote, but basically waves, energy, and vibration, I think is.
Well, it's why if you took the center and you spun it as a magnet, why you have a field drop off at certain points, and it's consistent based on the rotation rate of that magnet. It works the same way as this. You know what I mean? If you want to put it in shells just like this, you would think more thunderstorm generator, where they have the outside sphere and the inside sphere, but they're exactly matched to each other. You cannot change the sizes of them, or you'll screw up the experiment. This is exactly why.
Right, and
you got muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. It's the key to well, Tesla's technology, but all technology and matter itself. And that Walter Russell was another individual that fully understood this. And here, look at that. What do these look like? His cathode compression and anode compression. Those are the polar opposites, right? The inverse of each other. Of these nested field forces, and that specific fields have to do, the innermost is the electron, the second, I believe, is magnetism, the third is gravitational spin density potentially, and the fourth is time and ether with the plasma, I suspect. But
okay, so check this out. If you use a DC flyback to create this, you have to see it as one's magnetic and one's static. And that's how they coincide with each other. One propagates a magnetic field, one propagates a static field, and then they individually go in layer by layer by layer. So you know that the magnetic's holding in the static. And when you take a DC flyback apart, the part that goes around the core is simply wire wrapped around it. That's your magnetic. That's your negative that comes out. You have film layers that go on beyond that. With one little layer, they cannot create a magnetic field. Therefore, it continues to push through like a diode. That is your static. That's your positive. So it builds out just like that. And when you want to build a field bubble, like we were talking about in the chat in APAC, that's exactly how you have to build it. You have to be able to put a magnetic field on the outside and a static field on the inside in order to hold them in. But you cannot do it with conventional magnets. It doesn't work. You have to create a magnetic field in order to do it. But then you have to have an amplifier to that field. That's what I use a Tesla coil for, because it's not positive or negative. It doesn't have a value. It just has an amplitude.
Yeah.
So the amplitude,
right. It's neutral, but it's
there you go.
Specific. And like you were saying, the inside is the static. Like I was saying, that's your electron, and then the second one is the magnetic field. Then the third I believe, is the scalar wave, the standing waves of the three harmonic together, as I just describing, and that. So to answer the question of fields and bubbles, yes. So what I'm proposing is that these bubbles, these fields of what are create the supposed physical bonds between molecules, between atoms, and between elements, would create physical matter, solid matter. That these are in fact coherent, oscillating, standing waves of sound and light together in those specific uh, energy densities of the hydrogen and the electron
Yeah,
probabilities in those
yeah,
specific places as they're interacting with these different fields, and that it's a different type of scalar waves, these scalar standing waves that make up the third field, where the second field is the magnetic, the first field is the static electric, and that as you keep going out, with the fourth one being the plasma state, which is the fire, which is an ionic or ionized single atom particle, but you have it's superconducting, it's super hot, super cold, all of these, and anti, we'll say anti-gravitic, but it's also deals with time and higher dimensionality, where it gets into these quantum properties. Essentially, it's where
yeah,
you're getting into the
yeah.
quantum field, the plasma field.
Bernie, I think the problem with most physics today, they always associate it as a particle, and I think that's where everybody goes wrong, because the meters and the instruments that we have today, they when they come up on, say, an electron microscope or whatever, they think it's a particle, but it's not. It's a coherent field of energy, and
Mhm.
there's different layers, like layers of an onion. Okay, so each one of those layers you just described. So, to an electron microscope, or um, everybody always seems to get on this particle thing, and that's where uh, Tesla denounces the electron. The electron is a coherent field of energy. It is not a physical particle. It's not solid. It's a field.
It is.
And some people,
Right.
and
So
some
this
people,
right here, an image of a electron field, or
right,
electron cloud, sorry, and showing exactly that it's these
right.
energy fields.
But physically, when we look at it, well, it looks like a particle, but it's not a particle. This is where the dissociation with the particle. It's not a particle. It's a coherent field of energy.
Mhm.
That's it. Nothing. It's not like freaking rocket scientists. Uh, we have to get away from the terminology particle, but we use it in our context, the way we describe stuff, as a particle when actually it's not.
I don't ever
So
describe it that way.
a
Mo-
lot of people do. I'm even guilty of it sometimes too, but it's not a physical particle. It's not a physical hard object like our bodies. But our bodies is made of billions and billions of atoms and everything. But when you get down to the quantum nano uh, uh, scale, we're a field. Our whole body is electric. Every part, every aspect of human beings, or any living being, biological, were coherent fields of energy that are condensed down to such a nano scale. When you build up and you build up and you build up, we take on a figure of a solid object. So it's we're dealing with scale differences between our physical reality, where everything seems to be hard and real, and you know what I mean, like
mhm.
physical. But when you get to the quantum level, it's an entirely different landscape.
It's all
Yeah, it's more like what they
vibration.
call like a plasmoid or something like that.
Right. Like
So
a perfect example of something that we could visibly see today would be ball lightning.
There you
Okay.
go.
It, it's a coherent field of energy. That's why it stays together in space. able to keep itself together. That's kind of what. Go ahead.
Hold on. It's hilarious because they don't understand how it crosses over. You're literally holding in a field bubble of energy.
Right.
That's literally what you're doing. You're holding in static energy with the field, and
Right.
that field is formed around it, and they feed each other, and then you get a plasma layer that forms right in between them. It's so easy to see, and they keep confusing it with all of their garbage. They don't see it as fields, like you said.
Right. Because they don't understand it. That's why they come up with these crazy theories, and they let their egos get in the way and say, no, it's a physical particle, or oh, this is impossible, this can't happen, because they can't they can't remove their egos and say, you know what, you guys know f all. They
Well,
don't get it.
everyone that denies it will never create a UFO. I mean, just
No.
say that out. They'll never do it because they can't
No.
understand the physics of it.
No,
Exactly.
because if they say they can't do it, they've already made their decision. It can't work.
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
psychological thing,
Part
right?
of the manifestation of projecting your reality and the limits within it.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
have to tie it back again to stress my description of the misinterpretation of the double slit experiment, that a
Yep.
particle is a field of coherent standing waves. So it's made of these fields or of waves that are within themselves, and that it's it's our misunderstanding of what a particle is, just like you guys were just talking about there. And it's made up of these energy densities and the specific polarizations, charges within these fields of these waves. And yes, it's like there's the A field, the B field. Each field is acting in a perpendicular spinning additional geometry dimension from the next one, right? So it's like your first field is just one orbit around, your second field is going around and around,
Layers of an onion.
More and more torus, but it's more and more dimensions of density and like vector wise. And that it's like once we're getting into the fourth and fifth of plasma and aether, it's space-time folding in on itself essentially in the liquid fluid of the aether, which is essentially counter space, right? And so we have space and counter space, and essentially time and counter time being all time, and counter space being the shadow, right? So it's a shadow, it's a ripple through time that goes on, or through space time, and that exists, if that kind of makes sense. It's the exact.
It's just like another way to look at it too is like Nathan working with his Tesla coils. He can transmit energy through the air or the ether. Okay. So this proves that the ether is a real thing. There has to be a medium on which the electrons or coherent fields of energy can travel through space, because space isn't really space. There's an actual structure to the ether that allows these coherent fields of energy to travel from point A to point B with no wires.
Well,
But
okay, resonance works as quantum entanglement. You know that, right? That's how they entangle each other. You have to have a resonance in order to quantum entangle. If you don't, you won't make it work. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. Sometimes Tesla coil from here to way over there is they're quantumly entangled. That's it.
Right, and what is that? That essentially at its very base, that is just oscillation. What, like that frequency is oscillation, right? Vibration.
Yeah, but just hold on. Because the Tesla coil makes a scalar field, it goes from scalar, and then it goes down to Planck, then it goes back to scalar. Okay, so inside the Planck right there is your energy field, which is your quantum entanglement. That's how they work together.
So to add into that, I've been saying for a while, anything smaller than the Planck is essentially in the aether. That is an aether dimension, right? That's within the counter space that folds in on itself of this higher density.
Okay, but it's not a compressed frequency. That's what people misunderstand. It's just compressed energy. It's a field. It's not a frequency. It's a field. It's a compressed field.
Right. But you have to realize
Absolutely.
too that the ether itself is creating that gateway. It's
Yeah,
help creates the path of the gateway,
exactly what it's doing.
and it also has structure. There's a structure to ether. Actually, I have. Speaking of ether, hold on, I'll show you the book here in a second. I have The History and Theories of Ether and Electricity by E.T. Whitaker. You want to learn about the ether? Read this book.
Please give us a quick the directory and little flip through of this. Any diagrams in there?
It's a lot of math in here, very little diagrams. It's all math. But if you're really serious on to ether physics, this is a good starting point right here. So it's called The History of the Theories of Ether and Electricity by E.T. Whitaker. And this was actually recommended by Eric Dollard. So you might want to pick this book up.
In the top floor, the history of the all right, that's definitely a must read just by that title.
Yep, good book. It's crazy math in it. If you're into the quantum math, this is a good starting point. So just for reference, if you guys are interested.
But by the way, I know you guys call it waves. I just see it's propagation of frequency through gas. That's what it is. It's the time it takes to get for the frequency to get through gas. I don't know that it's a wave. It's just that's all it is. And when it builds out in the lab, you can see it in plasma all day long. All day
Yeah,
long.
it's
Change the frequency.
fluidic.
Yeah, it changes the frequency. You change the gas in the field. It changes the color.
And even
that's all it is.
Even Tesla refers it as a gas.
Yeah.
In a lot of his writings.
Well, it's got to travel through gas. Gas excites it. It's like a laser. As soon as you put in a different gas, you get a different color.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the excitement of gas in a magnetic field with frequency. That's what light is. It's not a particle. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Yeah.
Okay. The speed of time, or whatever you guys want to say it's not what you think it is. It's a study of energy and how fast it goes, because light propagates in a magnetic field. So not everything has a magnetic field that's that great. It's a minuscule amount. What you're getting is a radiant energy. What you're getting is the third field, the field that builds out to something. That's what you're getting most of the time. It's an energy everywhere.
Well, see, electrostatic energy actually exceeds C. And Eric Dollard years ago did a really good
well, it's not even
lecture.
Static. It's the radiant part of the static. It's
Right.
It's just the field that builds out. It has no static value. It doesn't stand your hair up when you get next to it. There's no value of static in there. It's like you got to take static, magnetic, radiant, and then you'll find it. It's everywhere.
Yeah. He was saying the mathematics for this is like for static potential to travel is pi over 2 to the speed of light. So it's exceeding c. So if you think speed of light is the fastest you can go, you're wrong. So it's pi over 2 to the speed of light.
It's like in a magnet. The field's already there. There's no debate about that. Hopefully people have figured that out. If you think there's no field in a magnet, then you're wrong. It's always there. Everything's in motion in the universe. Anytime a magnet moves, it has a field. So I'm sorry, but everything's in motion. Our Earth's in motion. The whole universe is in motion. You're not going to get away from motion. It's always got a field. It's the radiant value of a magnet. It's the one that pulls out the field. Without it, it all sits in the center and goes nowhere. It has to have that portion to it.
Yeah.
That's why they can't quantify it, because it's instantaneous. As soon as something turns on, like the sun, boom, it's at our planet. There is no speed of light. It's automatic because it's in the radiant zone. So I just don't believe in some of this garbage they're putting out there, because in a lab, it doesn't work. The math does not work in a lab.
And also, our math doesn't work in other places in the galaxy, probably even the solar system, but definitely the galaxy and especially the universe. Like gravity, not a universal constant, it's a localized constant, as is the speed of light. That is a localized constant from our observational place in relativity. It's not a constant throughout the entire universe. And Dr. Wei-Ping Yu, PhD of NASA's Theory of Everything, recently was disclosing that. I think it was on last week's stream that he did on Tim Pool with Ashton Forbes, but it might have been 2 months ago with the
Yeah,
one
I
with
think I saw
Terrence
that. Yeah,
Howard.
yeah, yeah. I think I've seen that. I recall seeing that.
Yeah, gravity is an effect.
Oh, absolutely. And he said that as well.
And it's a local, like you said, localized. So every planet has its own gravity. Every sun has its own gravity. Everything does. And you don't have gravity without time dilation. Gravity is the effect of the energy that goes on in a planet. I mean,
Exactly.
it builds out that way in a lab, man. I'm sorry.
And then time is also relative to its localized space-time density.
You know what? You know what's hilarious? They probably judge the speed of light based on the time dilation, because the time dilation would give you light, right? But it's all screwed up because every part of the time dilation field that you get into, it changes because there's more than one on the Earth. So your numbers are going to be wrong. Okay, sorry, it works differently. The time dilation field will screw up your whole light experiment entirely because it's two fields crossing each other constantly, like this. It has to make that barrier.
Exactly. And look at what we're looking at right here with the hydrogen wave function density. And it's exactly what you just said. Like 0 and 0 at 1, you got just the positive, the full one field. Then at 2 dimensions, all of a sudden now you have the positive, the negative, and within, and then you have the 3, and again another field within the field within the field, these nested spheres. And then when you get a second charge density, but on just the plane, now you have the positive negative separated. Then you get 3 charges and you get a double, and it just keeps going up and up. And that we can see this, how it goes. And this has a lot to do with my explanation, understanding, and position that I'm putting forward in the double slit experiment misinterpretation of a particle being nested fields of coherent standing waves, and how the energy light works. And this apparently these are electrons, right? And the charges, that's not a particle rotating around a center. These are blasts of pure energy coming in and out, and how they connect into all the rest of matter and other atoms. If that's making sense at all.
By the way, the whole electrical theory would make more sense if they called it the energy theory. They don't they take out some of the stuff with heat and stuff a little bit when they get into there. They bring it up when they bring in the sun and stuff. But you got to remember, when you say electrical, everybody immediately in their head thinks AC and DC. That's the whole problem with calling the theory that. That's immediately what they think. They have no idea there's another one. So you go, well, what about piezo? And they're like, well, I don't understand it. You know what I mean? It's not encompassing everything it needs to. And then it's so funny how somebody always comes out with a video debunking electrical theory, but they're okay with other theories, right? With Einstein's theories and stuff like this. And then they don't understand how string theory plays into it, and exactly how harmonics play into everything that they do. And then you ask them, how does a DC field work? And they have no freaking clue. They don't understand that there's heat in there. They don't understand how the frequency works in there. They don't understand how the amps work in there. And every one of their projects is screwed up because of it. So I'm sorry, man. And you know what? There's generalized terms that you have to use so people understand things. You can't just go around calling them, other things. when you see a static value, you have to call it based on, hey, does your hair stand up? Is there a static value? Does it cling on to things? Okay, that's static. When that doesn't exist, it's not static. Okay, if it's magnetic, then you have something that'll go over to something that's metal and stuff like that and interact with it. Okay, but those are just two sides of the same scale. I don't think people understand that. Neither one of them build out without a radiant field pushing them out. So, you know what I mean? If you don't understand all three, you'll never understand gravity.
Yeah, see, the problem is the regular mainstream science has created a terminology that's totally misleading and false. So when we talk about this stuff, and everybody that's out there, listening to the show, they, they're basing everything on the false language.
Yeah,
We're trying to change that language into the proper terms because it's misleading. And they say, no, just say particle. Oh, just say electricity. No, it's electrical potential.
yeah.
Right?
And
Potential.
just for William's question, this model actually does explain electrons, because if you have it in the right charge in that atom, in that particle, and then your matter you have in a coherent lattice shell outside structure, that is where you will have that electric charge force, but it's that you have to have it on the first dimensional layer of it to get the electric property of it.
Dude, hold on. An electret is basically a magnet that's built out of static instead of magnetic field. That's
exactly it. It's the static
that's
field.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not try to remake the whole Earth here. That's all it is. It is taking the static value and making it permanent.
Exactly. So if you have one of these specific geometries or particles that has that stabilized charge to it in your matter, that then you'll have that permanent ion static ionic attraction. If
that's why they call it a permanent magnet, or an electret, a permanent static field, right? And the great part about the electrets is that static field doesn't disappear; it stays there. It's infused into the material, kind of like the way the magnet works.
But in a microphone, sorry, go ahead.
With a magnet, if you add heat to it, the magnet actually starts losing its field. It weakens. And actually, Tesla made an interesting device where he uses heat to actually make the magnetic field dissipate in order to move a pendulum. And it's an interesting device. I think I got it in one of my books here that shows how he did it with a flame.
Just put it in high voltage. It'll kill the magnetic field.
That too. Yep.
So there's a way around an electret, by the way, is you have to constantly keep it going. That's why it dissipates so fast. It has no way to take the electrical value and re-put it into itself. So something on the outside, like aluminum in a mesh, okay? Or if you take graphene and put it in a mesh, it's really super fast with electret. And it'll keep the poles going the right way in order to keep the field the same. They use this. Remember I believe it was a Chinese lady, and I don't remember her name. They talked about it in APAC today. She actually discovered that once you put this, yeah. Okay, now this is an anti-gravity property when you have the mesh, okay, and it's built out of graphene. That's the whole point of what she was doing. She was creating a mesh out of graphene in order to propagate a static field on the outside, okay, which would give it a value when you go through the atmosphere, okay, because the atmosphere is mostly static potential, right? So once you get up there and you match the field, what happens is you're no longer pushing against something, you're actually blending with it. So you no longer get a Mach barrier when you're in an airplane. You now are starting to blend with the field. You're just going right by it. That was the whole point of what she was doing. So when you start seeing these big planes and stuff like that start breaking that Mach barrier, it's because the barrier isn't really there anymore. They removed it by matching the energy level. So now it can cruise through like a stream. That's what she was doing.
That makes sense, right? And why her work was hidden.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. You can learn a lot from a transistor if you actually watch the video and see how they work. It's so hilarious when they start talking about electrons and then you get all confused. And then all they do is show you how they work. And you know that they're just saturating stuff, right? Like they say gate all around. It is basically they have a gate and it went on the top side and you push it down, okay? And it has the flow to go, right? Then they went to gate around, okay, which is a horseshoe, which then gave it propagations to go this way and this way. So what is it doing? It's saturating the other things that go through it, right? The rods. Now they have gate all around, which is the gate is all around, and then you have rods going through it. Now it's just saturating each thing all together. It's a saturation, man. It's not electrons moving. It's literally saturating a field. It is like Tesla's quenching of the spark gap. You are literally stopping and starting it based on the amount of value you give that. So when they get into quantum computing and stuff like that, they start talking about vector direction. Well, that's not the way these things are. Transistors are built. I'm sorry. They don't build in vector direction. They built on leakage. The leakage factor that they talk about in a transistor is what you're going on. It goes so fast that it goes through, and they call it quantum tunneling. It's leakage. It's literally leakage when it goes over there and bursts the value out too high. It's real simple to understand. Now, you could put this on the outside of a UFO, by the way, and it works perfect. Why? Because the transistor itself was meant to boost energy. So when they first did it in their transmission lines, in the Bell telephone, stuff like that, they did it so that overseas that you can hear somebody better. So it's a boosting energy device. So when you put it on the outside of a craft, what does it do? It's boosting the energy. But then you think about it, if it's the static coming at it, right, and you get up in the atmosphere, it's why OdySee Carr said his ship went over Unity because of this, because he built the damn thing as a transistor, okay? It pulled in the energy and amplified it. So it's not that difficult to figure out. You just got to understand the parts of it, and then the materials of it match perfectly for UFO, down UFOs. When you find them, you start to see the same thing, layer after layer after layer. They're the same exact thing. So you got to wonder, did we build it? Did we build it? That's what you got to wonder, because it's building out the same way we built our electronics.
I do agree with that, and it seems to be the case.
By the way, graphene and bismuth, monsters in that field. They're the next generation of our processors. You watch.
Oh, right? Yeah, it's already happening in China. The new bismuth processors and graphene. Yeah, it's literally.
So you see what I'm saying, right? So you go to the outside of the UFO that Jared was talking about today. What cobalt? It's a superconductor when it gets a little bit cold. Okay. It doesn't have to be super chilled. It just has to be a little bit of temperature differential. I mean, a little more than
put
normal,
it in a rotating magnetic field.
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
Put it in a rotating magnetic field to activate it.
It's superconductive. It at a very low temperature. Unlike most superconductors, you have to blast the living daylights out of them. That's the point of it. But that's also why they're starting to use them in all these transistors and stuff like that when they upgrade. It's hilarious when you look at it, because they already wrote the math for it. They already did all the work for you. All you have to do is know what they're doing. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Okay, continue. I was just grabbing this one, but I think it is this one. Here we go. Oops. There we go. The OdySee Carr diagram, as you were just speaking on, and how it's the transistor system.
Oh, okay. Pull up the bottom one right there. Okay, let's stay right there. The coils that go around, right? Now, do you notice the same thing in Gerald's when he starts showing you the coils that are wrapped all around it? When you see Gerald's coil?
Yeah.
Okay, it's vector direction. So if you excite one of those coils, it's where the field goes. Remember, when we're talking about vector direction, we're talking about chasing its own tail, right? So it puts out a field in one direction while the center keeps trying to chase it. Okay. That's exactly what they're doing in every single direction. So if you want to change the craft in every direction, just excite one of those. Those things aren't on all the time. I think that's a misunderstanding for everybody. You turn one on in order to move the direction you want to go. I mean, this was what, Byfield Brown? It's the same exact thing he's saying. Turn on one and move in the direction you want to go.
Exactly. Right. And these were all just stages of the development of the reverse engineering of the disc-shaped craft that was originally discovered, I believe, or recovered in the 40s and before, that then launched the decades and 70 years now of research into the different, from VTOL craft to this magnetic suspension electric rotor flying saucer patent out of China from 2010. That's very fascinating one. I do have the American English version of it somewhere too, but just they've always been trying to figure out the disc-shaped craft, like saucer-shaped craft right here from 1957, but it was thrusters and rotary blades that propelled it. Why is that? Why were they so obsessed, and still to this day?
With what, the rocket?
Well, no, the whole disc-shaped propulsion, right? Here, another one. Ring-shaped wing helicopter. Supposedly these things were unstable, but here we have 2003. They're still working on it. Oh, but out of China again. All the disc-shaped, right? What's going on? I believe this
Okay.
one.
All right, Bernie. Levitation experiment, right? The little balls that they put in there. What is the shape of the sound wave that goes through there when two of them cross? It's a UFO.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Sorry, it took me a moment for you to say that to visualize what you were saying, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I have several diagrams of that.
If your craft is putting off sound like you were talking about earlier and bubbles and stuff, all you have to do is create the shape that fits in there perfectly. You're literally traveling through that tunnel.
Exactly. Bang on with it. That's an interesting one for later.
Because everything builds out in RF, man. So you never get rid of things. So let me just explain this. You never get rid of the magnetic, the static, the radiant, or the RF. It never goes away. It's which one is it amplified right now. That's it. Which value does each one have? Based on that value is where you're at, man. So if you look at everything as RF and then it's just radiant because you can't see the lines of RF, that's all it is. It just builds out so close to each other, you can't see that they're there. But as soon as you get to the northern lights, you see, oh, it starts to change the energy and going into magnetic. As it goes into magnetic, those RF fields start to open up, right? And now you start to see this beautiful wave, right? And that's exactly what you're looking at here, okay? So now you understand this in sound. You're pushing in between those waves we were talking about earlier, that field. Every time you jump in the levitation experiment, it holds here, doesn't hold here, holds here, doesn't hold here. It's the same damn thing, man. You're just going through the RF. That's all you're doing.
And like what I got up here, self-induced motion of wave system resonator. Look at the very bottom left diagram. That looks like the disc-shaped UFO again.
It's the same thing over and over, man.
Exactly.
They all tell you the same exact thing in every patent.
I like crystal.
I told you it's a transistor.
That's exactly what it is. Correct. look at Victor Schauberger's old system, and
That's totally different.
it's
He's creating the backwards tornado, like a tornado into his craft to suck him through it. He's doing totally different. This isn't conventional UFO. This is more like Einstein Rosenbridge type stuff. This is pulling yourself through the eye of the storm.
right.
I mean, that's literally what he was saying.
Yeah, it was. Are these seats with people? I don't know. Oh, yes. Nathan, solid state Tesla coil suit. Here's the one. Got to pull this up. We need Nathan in this. Look at that. Pew, pew.
That's 100% possible, by the way. Okay, hold on. Look at the end of it, right?
We got the cone.
Now, hold on. Just imagine that being a coil inside of a coil inside of a coil at resonance, okay? You're streaming it down. Now put a rod right in the center of aluminum, okay? Let's create something good, right? As soon as you take magnetic fields and stuff, put them against aluminum, you're starting to create lasers. So now when you look at it, you take the high voltage and stuff, just like you do on a table with 2 bars, right? Put table 2 bars, put high voltage to it, it creates a laser in one direction. You just have to change the geometry. What you're doing inside of each Tesla coil as it compresses is it's bringing up the amperage field in it, but not in a way that it blows out and creates magnetism, right? But it's bringing up the massive amperage field and poof, shoots it out. Yeah, those things are monsters, man. But the better
is your
better version. Okay, the better version is a phaser. Okay, where you're actually taking the molecules of somebody's body and breaking them down. So what do you need for that? You just need resonance, right? Because just like they use in those crowd control devices, you're resonating somebody's body at a distance. That's all you're doing. You're turning their insides against them. So you're making them feel hot. You're making them feel scared. You're changing all that inside of them too. That's what those devices are. So you put that with a high-powered laser and you got a phaser. And now you're doing some business.
We all need phasers.
I don't know that we all need them. I think we all should shoot one. You know what I mean? At a pumpkin or something, but I think that's about it. I don't trust everybody.
Ability to shoot a phaser at the firing range.
There you go.
Oh man. Microwave lasers? Sonic phaser with laser? Right.
Hey, you know what though, Bernie? Check this out. When they talk Ark of the Covenant and they say everybody got sick, and then you always see them here on the History Channel. Oh, it's gotta be what is it? Atoms or the nuclear, right? No, it doesn't. It just has to be resonance. That thing was a resonance machine, man. That's all it has to be to make everybody sick. You put it at the wrong resonance, and then boom, everybody gets sick. I mean,
that's right.
I mean, just think about it like a Tesla coil. You don't run up and touch one, do you? I mean, you don't go up and touch something that has to have a capacitor to it in order to bring it in resonance. I mean, you change the capacitive value because you're overcharging capacitor. Now, guess what? You're in a different resonance zone. As soon as you're in a different resonance zone, everybody gets sick. I could tell you from playing with Tesla coils where you get sick and exactly the numbers, right? That thing was a resonance machine.
I fully feel you on that because, and I don't want to, this is nothing to do with health. This is advice. This is preventing damage, right? You're trying not to poison yourself. But there have been some fakes, frauds, and imposters out there selling these supposed healing coils, but they have them in the absolute wrong geometries. And it's like the moment you turn it on, it's just like it's not a healthy feeling. It's destructive. And it's, it's a real thing. And that 90% or probably 99% of the geometries are going to be wrong and damaging, and then there's like the only 1% of like the right correct ones that have the potential of being beneficial. And that's why there's I guess the lab rats, but also why so many people that experiment and lab rat themselves with this technology end up doing more damage than good a lot of the time.
Well, they use the positive side of the field, not the negative. And as soon as you use the positive, it wrecks things. It's an absolute just wrecking ball.
Right, because just for correlation to my own work and experiments with the anode is the positive charge, but it's the sacrificial anode. It's the one that decays and destructs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the destructive mode. Yeah. Dude, I can't tell you how many people don't understand that. They think, oh, we'll just create it and make it work. And no, it doesn't. It's like they always talk about the stuff in Egypt, right? And the light bulb. It's a different physics that's going on to create that light bulb to turn on. It's not what you think it is, man. They are literally grounding that thing with that wire. That's all that is. It's grounding. Why? Because the energy itself is being put in by the stone around it. It's the water. It's the water has energy in it, man.
The flow of it, absolutely.
That's just like I show in my experiments, man, with the negative side of it. You could see it right away. As soon as you turn it on, you'll see it. You'll be like, oh, now I get it. Because there's 10 times more energy there. Dude, I just did a video where I put the coil inside of a coil, and then I put light bulbs in there. And dude, I'm at like 17 volts. I haven't even hit the max of this thing, and it's like bright. It's day. I turned it on today at like 20 volts, and the thing damn near blinded me. Okay. It is literally, check this out, Bernie. So the energy goes like this in the light bulb. It goes around it, back around the 8, back around, just like this, right? But if you take and pull those light bulbs apart rapidly, what happened? You automatically take that voltage through the roof. Okay. So what's going on there? Well, it's the same thing as taking 2 Tesla coils that are geometry based, okay, that are like this, right? You have them like this. Well, that's the same thing as your light bulb, right? So it goes in this way. So in that field in the center, it builds out on this line. So what you'll notice is it matches the Earth perfectly. Why? Because the exact line that's on in the center of our Earth matches the spot on the sun where we resonate at. It's that line. That right there is your energy line. Okay? That's your field. That's not your whatever the hell they wanted to call it.
Charge flow, essentially, though, right? Just of
yeah, that's why most of all the things are on a straight line. When you come to the planets, I mean, they're off by just a little bit like this, but we're not
on that
way off.
Solar plane, the solar disk, as well as the galactic disk, as well as the universal disk, right? It's all on the planes.
Because when you get to the ether, remember, it's a cone inside of a cone, but in the center, it's everything. It's not nothing. It's everything. We call it an ozone. That's why really a misnomer. It's everything. It's everything you would need to create something. If it was nothing, then you would have to pull everything in. It doesn't build out that way. You have to build everything into it and then build it out. Okay? Then as it goes around, it breaks it down, puts it in there, puts it back together. You know what I mean? That's just what it does in those fields. But in the center is everything, not nothing.
I fully agree. And it's the singularity point of an active, the breakdown and reconjugation in a self-sustaining system.
Mm-hmm. That's your, what did you guys call it? I call it plasma. What did you guys call it?
Yeah. It's plasma state. But I also see quantum as essentially in that plasma is quantum abilities, but essentially quantum is the ether, which is within the counter space as I perceive it. Mr. Mike, done your smoke, good sir?
Yep.
Want to give us some updates on what you're working on?
basically it's been the power cells and working on the small Renegade. Got that working really well. And yeah, I'm getting really positive results. The batteries aren't dying. I think I ran it for 3 weeks straight, and I lost like a half a volt. So
That's really good.
yep, super efficient system, that's for sure. I got charged many batteries with that. Yeah, just right now, I've just been working on the power cell technology. When you think you got it right, there's something else that pops up, and you go down another route.
Hey, that's exactly what building and inventing is. It's
You know,
trial and error, real science.
well, I've been at it for 2.5 years. Renegade about 8 years plus. So it's not something that is perfected overnight. That's for sure.
Exactly. It requires several
Years.
generations of development and testing and experimenting to get things right. And once you get the first model right, then you move on to improving for the second and so forth.
Yeah, I think with the power cells, I'm on generation 6. So yeah, it's really come a long way. Um, I've been trying to figure out, okay, what makes the cell last. So I pretty much figured that out. And now I've figured out what creates the voltage and how to enhance the voltage. So instead of having a cell that's, say, 1.7 volts, now I can achieve 2.6 volts steady. So I've been able to figure out how to increase the power factor by almost 2 times, right? Now is to get the current back. So that's the next stage, and I think I have an answer to that. So I'm going to have a hell of a lot of current to go with a half decent amount of voltage to go with it. So with those two combinations plus the other one, the longevity of the cell, I'm hoping to get 10 years, maybe even 20 years out of one cell.
That's
Continuous
pretty wild.
power. Yeah.
That's what we all need.
Yeah. Well, I'm on generation 6, so it took a lot. Like, it's experimentation. Like 98% of it's all experimentation. Sometimes you have to let an experiment go for 3 months before you can make your assessment, at how much energy density I have, how long is it going to last before it craps out. And you have to go from there. It's a process of elimination of certain factors. Cell design is so critical. It is everything.
Oops, 100%, because that's where the energy is stored and the future of anything electronic device. Sorry, I just put up a video here of a demonstration that I was showing earlier, and what the black there is actually aluminum that's bubbling like crazy. Sorry, the red is triple copper coil, and the white bubbling is the light from the atomic hydrogen, as well as some of the monoatomic aluminum and copper that was being transformed in the reaction.
Right.
And
One interesting thing I could add, Bernie, even pertains to your experiments. I've also learned too, all you need is a catalyst. And that catalyst will basically give the reaction you need. You don't need physical energy to actually make a hydrogen atom or particle move. So
bang,
that would
bang on,
that
bang on.
because
That's exactly what. Sorry,
that's what
continue.
leads to that's what basically leads you into the quantum tunneling theory. Okay, so you realize, if you say have like a cell, a battery cell, and you have a medium that it needs to travel through, if you give it the proper environment for the hydrogen to travel, it will do it under its own power. It doesn't need an exterior power source or energy source for it to travel. The hydrogen itself has it, and it will utilize its own power to move through a medium. So when I'm creating the cell, you have to create the proper conditions for it to travel from point A to point B without using a galvanic reaction. Okay. So the cells that I'm working on, they are alkaline. All right. So the acidity level of the medium that I create has a pH about 7. Okay. Now, as soon as you get down into, say, 6 or 5.5 pH, you're getting acidic. So now you've now changed the quantum tunneling reaction into a galvanic reaction. That's an exterior source of energy that you're providing to that medium in order to make the electrons flow from point A to point B. I'm trying to stay in the alkaline, where there is no galvanic action. Now, this also has great advantages. Guess what? Your sacrificial cathode doesn't deteriorate. That means the longevity of the cell now can go up exponentially higher. So, all these variables I've had to study intensively in order to make the cell to do what it does. The last thing you want to do is have a galvanic action. As soon as you have the galvanic action, you get oxidation. You'll have oxidation on your sacrificial cathode, and that's where the degradation of the battery starts. Okay. And say, for instance, a lithium battery, its degradation might not actually be an oxidation, which there is oxidation that goes on. But the other thing that really degrades a lithium battery is heat. You're getting a thermo problem. And that's why, you have these problems with cell phones blowing up, because they're getting a thermo runaway happening inside the cell. So there's so many different variables, and one variable might cure another variable, but a side reaction off it could be detrimental to the cell. Saying lifespan could be one issue, right? And you get that in a galvanic uh, uh, environment. So the key to my cell is it has to stay alkaline, or a solid state, or whatever you decide to go with, but it has to stay alkaline. What you have to do is create a median for the hydrogen uh, fields to travel through the median without an exterior source of power, whether it's galvanic or uh, um, galvanic. So
Yeah,
I'm trying. Go ahead.
sorry. And you're exactly bang on, and that I've been doing the identical steps, but in reverse order from where you were with developing the battery, with the electrolysis aspects and the hydrogen production, and what we're looking at right here, and specifically the catalyst, because there is no electricity going into this aluminum foil that's around a copper coil, and then the
Right.
triple copper solenoid coil on the opposite side. There's only two pieces of copper wire connecting them to each other outside of the water that creates this differential. But the real catalyst that has this reaction going so insanely is that I reversed the anode, the sacrificial anode that had broken down past the oxidization, which the alchemist called the blue state, and then passed up until this red state that you see here, and why it's glowing red despite being submersed just in salt water, and why there's so much hydrogen being production and so much aluminum breaking down, is because of reversing the anode into the cathode, and it being in such a decay that that catalyst is now that it's sucking back as much oxygen atoms out of the water, creating the catalyst of the electrolysis reaction, and that one hydrogen atom then goes onto the aluminum. That's why you're seeing this black hydride forming on it. And then the oxygen atom goes in onto as an oxide, forming the shell with the copper hydroxide there, the copper, sorry, Cu, I think it's 3, or CuH3, I believe it is. And from that, you have the spare extra hydrogen, which is then this atomic hydrogen. And that's why it's so white and cloudy, is it's the tiny little sparkles that are happening in each little nano bubble. And the nano bubbles you can't even see moving. They're just what's like that foam fuzz that's clouding it. And then they're combining into bigger bubbles of probably H2 gas as it then bubbles out and getting so much out.
Any movement of hydrogen releases energy, right? So you're doing it within the elements, or alchemy. That's what alchemy is. You're using elements to make other elements react and give a side reaction, say a release of hydrogen. And the release of hydrogen, and even in batteries, the release of hydrogen releases an electrical charge. So there is an electrical charge being emitted from your coils. What you should try to do now is, if you have a sustained reaction going in your coils, try to figure out a way of tapping off that and see what kind of electrical charge you're actually getting off it. It could be in the millivolts, or it could be in the volts. We don't know until you actually do that experiment.
Absolutely. And I might have private recordings and information that I've never released or talked about, but we will talk about it one day.
Exactly. But anybody who's listening to what we're saying is, the second you release hydrogen from a sacrificial cathode, there is an electrical charge that comes off that automatically.
Exactly. That's where why I said I did the inverse engineering, because my catalysts and reactions, the galvanic reaction aspect is being amplified. So it's like there is the cost of the sacrificial anode in these aspects, but then when combined with your technology and what you found, and I won't go into proprietary information of it, but where it prevents the galvanic breakdown while also been combining with sustaining this reaction, there's the potential for a ridiculous amount of energy.
Yeah, you're creating the gateway. If you create the gateway in a non-corrosive way, you can release that hydrogen from the sacrificial cathode or anode, depending on how you set up your cell, without the detrimental effects of corrosion, which leads to the breakdown of a battery, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it's because of that breakdown. The oxidation takes over. You get the dendrite formations, and then you could get short outs, which will cause a runaway if you're using lithium, and you get fire. So that's when you get into the thermo issue. So it's every single element has a specific purpose in the cell to keep it running properly. If one fails, it's a chain reaction, which would lead to thermal runaway, depending on what type of cell it is. Like lithium, you're going to get fire, right? So
Yeah, and so actually the red state hydrogen compounds, when it's in the nano plasmid clusters of solids, whether it's with the copper, aluminum, iron, all of them I've harvested and dried out. And then when I rub it on any of those hydride compounds onto another metal, especially foil, it catches fire and combusts. It's quite wild, and I do have
Yep.
some images of it for my presentation at Tesla Tech.
Nice.
But I'm gonna tease it now. I have shown them in the past, but what episodes it's in is as good of guess yours as mine, so I won't try looking for it now. But
Yeah.
I am going to show another pretty crazy electrolysis. This is a silver on silver, 1 ounce silver coin versus 1 ounce silver bar. But I had added the base material is actually monoatomic bismuth in with this monoatomic silver, and just the galactic spirals and like just the different layers of the moving materials at the base, very interesting. And then we have this I believe iron steel lid with a coating on it or whatever, like insulating. Point being that look at the magnetism, and it be when I keep moving it being directly pulled back to the very center each time. And then you can see the clouds of the moving monoatomics and plasmids moving in specific directions, and it's charge differential that's keeping them both at their buoyant elevation as well as their horizontal motions.
Anyways, Bernie, sorry. I gotta head out for the night.
Fair enough. Getting late.
Thanks for yeah, it's after midnight here. But yeah, we'll meet up again next Friday. Everything should be back to normal, I hope. It's been a little rocky of a week, but
Well, appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you had fun with your family camping over the weekend, and prayers with your father's recovery.
well, I didn't go camping because my wife had some problems. So my daughter went camping. We had to stay home. So that's what happened.
Well, praying your whole family is okay and health to come.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Much love, brother. We'll see you next week, next Friday. League of Extraordinary Inventors, as always.
Yep. All right, guys.
Much love, Mike. And
Okay.
Nathan, you still there? Or Nathan had his, I believe, headsets go out on him. Not sure if you're still there, brother. Old man Bill. There you are. There he is. Maybe
Can you hear me, Bernie?
Yep. Can hear you loud and clear.
This thing, man.
Oh, can you hear me? No. Uh-oh. Nathan can't hear. Mike left. Maybe we'll shut her down early. Let's see. One more video to play. Can you hear now? Can you hear me now? Nathan. Nope.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, now you can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Bear with us. Oh, yeah. We're back. Very good.
Yeah. Sorry, man. My headset died, and I went to get another one, and it's not the same.
Understandable. Well, anything else you'd like to cover tonight, or go over, or should we cut her short, or how you feeling? Can you hear me?
What are you doing there?
So this is a very interesting experiment. I originally the sacrificial anode was bismuth, so the base was a bunch of monoatomic bismuth, and then now you're seeing so it was silver cathode, bismuth anode that dissolved in, and then once the bismuth dissolved, then I switched over to an additional silver anode. So currently it is a silver anode, silver cathode with 5 volts you see going in. It's about, I believe, 6 inches deep of water, and that you can see the different layers of the monatomic bismuth and silver moving, separated by their charge differentials, and so their buoyancy or gravitational layering and the different exclusion zones between them, as well as then the horizontal motions of the particles on these different vertical layers of the water, of the exclusion zones. It's a great example of Gerald Pollack's work with easy water, exclusion zone water, and the charges. And then in the middle, I have the floating steel lid from a bottle, and demonstrating how I keep moving it and how the magnetic attraction goes to the very center of the experiment, or of the electrolysis.
See, that's very cool. Nice.
And like just the galaxy look of the clouds and the plasma, you can see that they're intersecting below each other. If I freeze it right here, so you have one group of clouds going this way, a higher plasmid cloud formation going this way, and then below it you have another layer stream of monoatomics going at a 90-degree intersection below it, and that they keep flowing in perfect symmetry without interrupting each other. So it's completely electromagnetic field driven motion, as opposed to what's the right convection current. It's not a convection current from heat movement. It is specifically electric charge potential driven motion and movement. And yeah, right, like liquid coil. Yeah, BurnEye in motion. There we go.
Dude, that's totally interesting.
Right, when I recorded this, so this is like one of my first years, so like at least 10 years old since I did this experiment and recorded it. But when I saw it, I was like, what the heck is actually going on? So I did record several videos of it. Oh my God, my apologies, accidentally closed the folder I was trying to open the next one from. One moment. But there's like a 7-minute video that I have of it that is even more fascinating, and how it's.
Hey, BurnEye, you can't hear my computer going off every few seconds, can you?
Negative. Nope.
Okay, good. This headset's driving me nuts.
All right. So one additional crazy observation that I made and recorded, because I was using a higher quality, faster shutter speed camera in this, you'll see. So the bar of silver here as the anode. This is the sacrificial anode right here. But you'll see one big bubble of oxygen constantly forming off of it and shooting straight up, and then you'll see it shoot out of the water as a compressed spherical, not just dispersing as some gas. So pay specific attention to what comes up right through here as I hit the play. So right there, boop, and then it jumps up right there. It's
Oh,
very,
there it
very
is.
fast, but you'll see it over and over. And it's not a splash of water because there's no water then going down and hitting and rippling the water again. It's not a droplet. It's going straight up. You can catch it right there. I'm not sure if
Looks like a bubble jumping.
Yeah, and it jumps out, and then there's a few frames where you're actually able to see it going straight up once it's out of the water and continuing shooting right up right here. I'm not sure if the video is playing fast enough for you to see it or able to see it.
Yeah, it jumps up and over.
Right? Just shoot straight up. So again, it's like, is that plasma state that is just like the ultimate anti-gravity or buoyancy density, because it's not diffusing with air, it's literally just repulsed straight out.
Look how fast those bubbles are going out from it, though.
Exactly. It's barely able to capture it because it happens so fast. So it's, I guarantee that's faster than the human eye probably could normally see, and it's only because it's captured in the high shutter speed or frame rate of it. And again, demonstrating that, moving it, and still you can see constantly the bubble shooting up. 99.99% silver, both of them. So a lot of very peculiar, unique, interesting effects recorded right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cap's not moving at all either.
No, right? Like it's literally, that's the center magnetic point that it keeps getting attracted back to. Captured in.
Yeah, it goes right back to it.
I can't get enough of this thing going up because it's like, what is actually going on with that? And has anyone else ever recorded or observed something like that? I think that's a world first, but I don't know.
So you're breaking down the other side of it, though, right?
That is the side that's breaking down. That's the sacrificial anode, and that's why every so often you'll see a little piece of white silver as it's breaking into the monoatomic or the nanoscale fall down like that. There's a couple times over here. Oh, and there we go. There was the drop of blood I put in that grew into this is about a 1-inch chunk of like material flesh. And this is from the get-go that once I heard of the homunculus process and story, scares the living shit out of me, because it's like you put your, whether it's like some snot, saliva, especially blood, like blood clot that's still partially live, into this solution, and they grow. It grows nonstop until you cut the electricity, and then it'll kind of stay alive, and then it'll start to degrade and decay. But as long as there's the little current going into it, it grows and grows and grows. And yes, this is the potentiality of how easy it actually is to clone biological material of yourself. Also, you can see these bubbles there. They aren't on the surface. They're captured about an inch down by a layer of the water to the right here. And then these ones, I believe, are like 3 inches down on the third layer below one level of this moving monoatomic silver bismuth solution. Here you can see the cathode, how much hydrogen's bubbling up off of it, and also the collection of the monoatomic silver around it from the sacrificial anode. And yeah, there's all sorts of wild stuff that happens in these reactions, and especially when you include genetic material within it. Again, look at right here as it goes up. Oh, and it's like, it's just going up. It's not going down. Out right there, you saw a piece of the metal come off the sacrificial anode there. Just dropped. And look at the movement of these clouds, right, going along. And they're above the other layers of clouds going in perpendicular directions. All sorts of massive anomalies, and essentially a galaxy in a jar.
Check out the light that you see, the reflection. As soon as that thing shoots off, man, you start to see it go right through a sine wave.
Yeah.
It like, boom, right through it.
Again, move floating lid cap and right back to the center. Position held.
That's so cool to look at.
Like, there's so much to watch. See the water move and the bubbles are like stuck below it. It's, oh man, I got to reproduce this one because something else. And it's completely the charge densities or charge differentials that keep the different layers of the water and the plasmid metals and molecules, clouds, in their formations and movements and buoyant positions, I guess. So there you saw one piece just fall down there off the sacrificial anode corner, and at the same right there. But then, like, that bubble shooting up, that thing, I just, it's such a wild anomaly. Because it's like, it's literally just repelled, like, as soon as it leaves the liquid. Potentially. I have watched this video for days. Pretty sure why things didn't work out with my XXX girlfriend from 10 years ago, but we'll not get into that. I was just saying I could watch that video for days, and I have in the past. But let's move on a little bit more to another couple of videos. I will share.
Hey, BurnEye, I'm going to take off. My headset is going to die.
Fair enough. All right. Well, then on that case,
I'm sorry about that. It's like,
no worries, man. I fully get it. Appreciate your time and your contribution. So we'll end with this last video right here, and this one solely showing. So there's just there. It's not connected to anything, and it is pressed between those two coins above the water. And so there's no electrical inputs. There's just the charge differential between two identical silver coins, except one coin I did a nano layering shell on, which started the breakdown, aka the catalyst of the reaction. And then you see this monoatomic silver cloud of silver coming off what established to be the anode in this galvanic reaction. And on the inside of the pure silver coin is where the hydrogen is being produced, and thus can't be seen in this video, but it is a self-sustaining, self-acting hydrogen battery reaction. And on that note, we will call her a wonderful day. Thank you, Nathan, for joining us. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. And check out Old Man Bill's channel. Check out Faraday Research. Check out mine. And we will be back again with the wonderful Nathan in the coming days, as there's lots more to do and discuss. Appreciate you. Last words? Can you hear me? Nod and smile.
Have a good night, guys.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye. BurnEye just like last week, huh?
Weekend at Bernie's.